Hey, I'm Brian.
And I'm Molly. We're the Wallens.
We're musicians who travel the world together, and we sleep in our van.
In other words, life is normal.
The rain is falling softly on the ground, and the lights are on the Christmas tree. This week, it's all about the Emerald Isle. Our trip to Ireland began with a short flight from Glasgow to Dublin. We'd heard from numerous folks that Dublin was just a big touristy city, so we heeded their advice and left as soon as we picked up our rental car. Our first stop was across the country in Galway, subject of a song by Steve Earle, and according to the youths, some guy named Ed. We found a great pub there called Beer House. We went there 2 nights in a row, and the first night, music was happening. This little place was full of warmth, laughter, and good beer. This city of 80,000 somehow felt bigger than that, so we got in our car and headed north to Connemara National Park. We learned about the incredible history of the peat bogs, and we hiked up to panoramic views. It was great. We pretty much had the place to ourselves. We also experienced some pretty incredible scenery on our drive back, and we wrapped up the day with a visit to Nemo's Pier, a place that had a lot of significance for Molly. Our next stop we have some regrets about. We typically try to zig where everybody else zags, but we felt like we had to see the Cliffs of Moher. Ultimately, we were disappointed for a lot of reasons. It's completely overrun by disrespectful tourists. The scenery is beautiful, yes, but it's hard to enjoy it when you're surrounded by people in designer sweats and Jordans crowding you for a selfie on the edge. There is litter everywhere, and people seem to have no real appreciation or care for nature. Incidentally, I feel this way about many of America's national parks. It's why I like to stick to national forests and recreation areas. That experience was a little draining, so it's a good thing that we happened upon the town of Anestimon and a delightful creperie called Ooh La La. Crepes and soup were just what we needed, and we headed on to our next stop in Killarney. We made a little side trip to Dunlow's Gap on our way in and were treated to some beautiful views. Our Airbnb was terrific, and our host recommended a great Thai restaurant called Gunting. 2 of our favorite meals in the same day. Now here's where it gets good. The next day we drove out to the Dingle Peninsula, a spectacular bit of land sticking out on the west coast. We stopped at Inch Strand, where the shore, sky, and sea all seemed to meld into one big ribbon. We felt strongly that we had found what we were looking for on this day. We even got to visit some of the sites where the most recent Star Wars movie was filmed. We stayed for 3 nights in a little town called Coachford, in a guest house we rented on Airbnb. This was a good move for a number of reasons, the location being one. Another was the pub in town, O'Riordan's. Yep, we went 3 nights in a row. The food was cheap, delicious, and made us feel at home. The beer was cold, and the bartenders were above and beyond friendly. The fireplace was really nice to sit beside after a long day, too. The next morning, we drove over to the Beara Peninsula. It's just south of the Dingle, and the two are similar, except the Beara Peninsula is even more spectacular and even less populated. I was in heaven. I feel confident in saying that some of the best views of the trip were on this drive. Coachford is a short drive from Cork, so we drove over on a Saturday morning. First, we made a stop at Griffin's Garden Center for a coffee and an award-winning scone, and it was delicious. We were lucky. The Jazz Festival was happening in Cork, so the city was alive with energy and amazing jazz performers playing for tips on the street all over the place. We really connected with Cork and would love to go back and spend more time. Our next stop was on the east coast, in Ferns. This was once the capital of Ireland in ancient times, and the remnants of a castle sit right in the middle of town. We were able to make some great friends at our Airbnb.
Hi, sweetheart. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to elbow you in the face.
We found a great pub here too, the Courtyard. Delicious food, great beer, friendly people, you know the drill. I have to be honest, when we got to Ireland, we were weary. I'd been sick for the whole trip, and that combined with the general stresses of international travel were really wearing on me. Molly was thinking a lot about her mom. The anniversary of her passing was the day we landed in Ireland, so we weren't quite ourselves. But the good thing about Ireland is we didn't have to be. Everywhere we went, we were welcomed just as we were by genuinely caring and friendly people. At the time, we were tired and a little homesick, and we probably spent more time complaining than we should have. And Scotland was a tough act to follow. But in retrospect, a lot of those circumstantial things have drifted out of my memory, and what remains are images of a beautiful country filled with beautiful people. Not only would I like to go back, I'm excited to do so. As with any place, you just have to get out of the places that the tour buses go and find the real spirit of the place, where the locals eat, drink, and gather. 10 more miles and we'll be home, right back where you and I belong. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Right back where you and I belong. So let's pour some wine and sing along.
I don't know if you're telling the truth or you're fucking bluffing us. But